Today I am going over how Donald Trump can still win the presidential election and why he can still win the presidential election. The last week or so has shown that Kamala Harris has absolutely surged in the polls, and she's definitely enjoying kind of like a honeymoon type moment where she's, fresh in the race. It's been Trump versus Biden for about, 4 years now, 5 years now. A new candidate is finally in the race. The polls suggest that it's gotten a lot closer, and Kamala Harris has gained a lot of the support that Joe Biden lost. She's gained a lot of that back. But today's video, I'm focusing on why I think Donald Trump still can win the 2024 presidential election. The past week, it's been a lot of doom and gloom about Trump's chances as Harris's numbers have improved so much. But I'm going to explain this by looking at the popular vote, the general election between Trump versus Harris, and then some of the key swing states, and just show you something I've noticed. For one, the popular vote truthfully really doesn't matter all that much because we don't elect our president in the United States by popular vote. We go by electoral college. But Trump is still leading in the head-to-head matchup of Trump versus Harris by 1.7%. So I don't think at the end of the day Trump is going to be able to win the popular vote against Harris. I just think there's too many Democratic voters in big cities around the country that it kind of overlaps a lot of the vote in the swing states. So I think Harris would still probably win the popular vote. But the fact that Trump is even leading Harris in the general election head-to-head right now, I think it has to be seen as a good sign for him. And since Harris is getting in the race, while yes, her support has gone up from where Biden's is, as I've mentioned a few times, Trump's support has not wavered. So even though Harris has done better, Trump has not done worse. He's done the same. So that can at least be viewed as a good thing for him. And now we get into the swing states themselves. The state of Arizona, I'm doing this video the day after the Arizona primary, so hopefully we have some of those results and I can be doing a video on that very soon. But Arizona, Trump is leading Harris by 6.4% of the vote. He's nearing 49.7% of the vote. He's nearing 50% of the vote. Trump is in a very strong position to right now win the state of Arizona, which is big because Arizona is a state that Trump was actually not favored to win back in 2020 and barely won in 2016, and a shock to many because they thought Arizona was such a Republican state. As we can see, in 2016, Clinton was leading in the polls by 0.5%, and Biden was leading by 4%. So Trump is up by 6% in the polls in Arizona. That's definitely a good sign for him. And as we look at the electoral map, I have it right now at Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at around 235 electoral votes, stronger leaning for him. And before I do this, let me just go to North Carolina really quick. Let me find it. North Carolina, Trump is up by 9 points in the only Hill-Emerson poll of Trump versus Harris. I don't think it's going to be that big of a margin for Trump. I think it'll probably be in a 5% or less margin for Trump in North Carolina. But nonetheless, I feel very confident putting it in Trump's column to begin with. So Trump and Vance are at 235. Harris is at 226. Arizona right now, I would say I feel pretty good about the fact that Trump is going to win Arizona. That gets him to 246. So that's one state already off the board that Trump is polling very well in. Now we go to Georgia, where Trump is leading the polls over Harris by 4.5 points. Now Trump is doing much better than Biden in Georgia than Harris, as Harris has got a lot of the support back. But it still needs to be said that Trump is still holding a lead, a narrow lead, 1 point in the last landmark communications poll, only 2 points in the Hill/Emerson poll. But Trump is still enjoying at least a lead in Georgia. And that needs to be said, it's 4.5 points. Can Harris overcome this margin and win the state? Yes, probably she could. But Trump is at least polling in a decent position in Georgia, in a state he lost in 2020. So if we give Donald Trump the state of Georgia, which I think if the election were held today, I would feel pretty good about the fact that I think he would win Georgia. I'm not sure if Arizona and Georgia, I'm not sure if they're equally as likely to go red, but at very least, I think Trump is polling very well in both of those states right now. That gets Trump to 262. He's on the doorstep of potentially winning this election. Now we go to the next swing state. We go to the state of Michigan. Michigan is going to come right down to the wire, as it's done in the last two elections. Trump so far is either led in these polls or he's tied in the most recent Fox News poll, 46-45 in the Hill-Emerson poll, very, very close. We really don't know how Michigan will go, and Trump is only getting 47.7% in the average. Harris is getting 46.7. So this one could be very, very close. But at very least, you can say a good thing for Trump is not losing here. In the average, he's still up by 1 point. So if Trump is still up by 1 point in the average, well, at least if he wins Michigan, that gets Trump to 277. He's president of the United States. He wins 4 years. Just winning Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan would get Trump to 270. Now let's go to the next swing state, the state of Nevada. There's not been a poll made yet of Trump versus Harris since Biden dropped out of the state, but before that, Trump was polling very well in Nevada against both Biden and Harris. Probably not going to be a 10-point win for Trump in the state of Nevada, but it's 6 electoral votes prior to Biden dropping out of the race. We're looking like Trump was going to win it. So until we see otherwise, Trump could still very well win the state of Nevada, probably in like a lean margin as well. Probably not more than 2 or 3%, it would be my guess, but if Trump is able to win Nevada, well, that even cushions his lead to 283. Now, if you take away the state of Michigan, Trump would be very, very close, but would still need to win one more state. But nonetheless, if Trump is still leading in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, at very least, it's a good sign for him. That was Nevada, that was North Carolina. And now we go to the state of Pennsylvania, a state I think I've talked more about Pennsylvania in the last week than I have in the rest of my entire life. Pennsylvania is such an important swing state in this election. I think is the most important swing state in this election because this may decide very well if Donald Trump can win or not. And I think there's a reason that if Kamala Harris chooses Josh Shapiro as her running mate, the governor of Pennsylvania, it's a clear sign that she knows she needs this state to win. And she does. She absolutely needs Pennsylvania to win. Trump, as I just showed you at Michigan, does not need Pennsylvania to win, but it makes his pathway to victory a lot easier. Trump is polling right now at 48.3%. Harris is at 45.3%. And the trend has been over the last few polls, it's gotten closer. On the American Greatness poll, it was Trump +2. The Hill Emerson, Trump +2. And Fox News is a tie race. The only good thing I can say for Trump here is, again, like the other states, he's still leading. He's still either winning. The Fox News poll, he was tied, but he's up by 3 points in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania being in Trump's column is absolutely crucial to his chances of winning. Because if Harris wins Pennsylvania, then at very least, she may have a pretty good chance, or a decent chance, at winning Michigan. And if that's the case, that's 260. The election would come down to the state of Wisconsin, which the polls in Wisconsin are even closer, and I'll be about to show you that. But that's why I'm saying Pennsylvania could go from a state that Trump would like to have but doesn't need to a state for Trump to win he absolutely needs very, very quickly. Let me just go back to what the polls say right now. Okay, and now we'll wrap up with the state of Wisconsin. This is why, look, Wisconsin is a very wacky state when it comes to polling. It's historically had some very big inconsistencies, but Trump is leading in every single poll here by 1 point, or the Hill Emerson poll where he's tied. Wisconsin is going to be super close and come down to the wire like it's had in the last 2 elections. I think this is why Trump needs to emphasize trying to win Michigan and Pennsylvania, is because Wisconsin is super close, but it still might end up going for Harris at the end of the day, and Trump needs to have a contingency plan in case that happens. But Trump is up 0.7% of the vote right now. He's led in 3 of the last 4 polls, and the other poll where he didn't lead, he was tied. Trump is still leading here. So even though Kamala Harris has definitely gained support over what Joe Biden had, she's made this race closer, she's made the margins in the swing states closer, Trump has still led in these swing states. Every single swing state I have right now, and that lightish red color, Trump is leading. And that needs to be said because a lot has been made about Kamala Harris surging and that Donald Trump probably is feeling nervous about his chances right now. The numbers have changed. Trump is not winning, say, Wisconsin by 5 points or Pennsylvania by 5 points anymore. Now Trump's winning it by 1 point. And in both cases by 1 point. But the simple fact remains is Donald Trump is still on paper winning these states. And a common talking point that I've heard in the last few days is that this is the high period for Kamala Harris, where this is like her honeymoon period. This is when she's thought of as the highest approval rating she's had. And that eventually as the election season kicks up, they do a debate, her approval rating will start to come down once her record comes out, and then Trump's chances will improve even from now. If that is the case, I'm not saying that's true, I'm not saying that's false, I'm not sure, we're going to have to wait and see. But if that is true, if that is the case, well, Trump is already winning right now. At least according to the polls in the most recent swing states, Trump is leading with 312 electoral votes to Harris's 226. Harris has made this election a lot closer, where any one of these states could absolutely flip. If Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania went for Harris, I won't lie, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But at very least, in the polls right now, Trump is still leading, which is something in this moment of maybe Harris is surging and it's been a bit of unease. This is something the Trump campaign needs to feel good about. Even though Harris has started performing better than Joe Biden, she has not been able to flip one of the swing states yet. She's been able to shore up support in some of the states that Trump was hoping to put in play, like Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire. But in the swing states that Trump needs to win, he's still leading in all of these states, which for him is very good news. The advice I have for Trump right now is to keep doing what he's doing with doing rallies in these swing states and talking about Harris's record. I think if he's going to win, that's how he's going to do it. I don't think Trump's going to win by trying to expand the map into Minnesota or Virginia or New Hampshire. I know Trump just did a rally in Minnesota, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, but I really don't see any scenario right now where Minnesota is going to go red. I would be very surprised if it did. New Hampshire and Virginia even more so. Trump's pathway to victory runs through the Rust Belt, run through these 3 states, and Georgia and Arizona and Nevada potentially, depending on how the map goes, could end up playing spoiler if Harris was able to pick off Pennsylvania or Michigan. So this has been a video that I think I've been thinking about back and forth about wanting to make it, and I definitely did because this election has gotten a lot closer in Trump versus Harris, but it's definitely not over. And I think it's not fair to say that President Trump does not have the advantage right now. He has a very narrow advantage over Harris, a much narrower advantage than he had over Biden. But I think Trump does have an advantage right now if the election were held today, nonetheless. So that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give this video a like if you liked it, and click subscribe if you really liked it, and you get notified when I post new videos like this one in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in a future video.